Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will discuss pure virtual functions and abstract class. Let's get started. So in this code, I have a class shape. It could be any geometrical shape. And I have the member variables dimension 1, dimension 2 and area. Based on the dimension, area has to be calculated and stored in this variable. I also have written a constructor, a parameterized constructor to initialize the member variables. Now, along with these, let us add one function that calculates area. Let me just add the prototype here and define it outside the class. Void shape scope resolution operator followed by function name. No arguments required. Okay, class definition is complete. But what do we write within this function? How do we implement this function? We don't even know what kind of shape the particular object is. Is it a rectangle? Is it a square? Or is it a triangle? We have no idea. Unless and until we know what the shape exactly is, we cannot calculate its area. We know the formulae. We know the formulae for square, rectangle and triangle. And depending on each shape, the formula varies. So we can't write the code within this function. So we'll keep it empty as it is. Now assume I create an object of shape. I give some value 12, 10 and I'll invoke the method calculate area. Let's run this program. It didn't give me any output. And how can it give me any output without knowing what kind of shape the particular object is? So does it make sense to create an object of type shape? No, it isn't. So we should have a mechanism that disables the creation of an object of type shape. How do we do that? Now coming back to this function, we don't know what to write within this function, correct? Even though we know the formula for various shapes, which shape we are concentrating on, we don't know. So in this prototype, I'll attach a keyword. I'll prefix a keyword virtual, and just before you end your statement, we will write equals to 0. Now I can remove this definition. What happens if I compile this now? Cannot declare variable s to be of abstract type shape. We came across a new term, abstract. Was it an abstract class earlier? No. When you made it as virtual function and also assigned 0, only then your class shape became abstract class. Now this is abstract class. Now this function calculate area, which you have made it as virtual, is called pure virtual function. You don't have any implementation detail. Not even a single line has been defined within its function body. So we call it as pure virtual function. So any class which has at least one pure virtual function is called an abstract class. And you cannot create an object of this class. It is just abstract. It is not a concrete class. Now what if you have to create a concrete class that inherits from this one? Let's create a class rectangle which inherits from shape. Let's write a constructor for this under public section rectangle float a comma float b. See, the variables dimension 1, dimension 2 are already declared in the base class. So I don't need to assign them here. I can just pass them. Anyway, there are already two statements, assignment statements. Let us make use of them. Whatever arguments I am accepting, I'll pass them to base class constructor. And now I can define pure virtual function. So in this case, area is equal to dimension 1 multiplied by dimension 2. In main, I'll create one object of type rectangle and pass breadth and length. And call the function calculate area. You can display the area here itself. Area is equal to variable name and now you have a value for area based on the type of shape. Earlier we didn't know what the shape was, but now it is precise. I told you that an abstract class must have at least one pure virtual function. It doesn't mean it cannot have regular function. It doesn't mean all the functions mentioned in the shape must be pure virtual. No, not necessarily. So in this case, one function is purely virtual, but it can have one regular function. Say void get area. And I can write code within this function. Let me take this statement and paste it here. So instead of calculate area, I can invoke get area. Even though shape is an abstract class, it can have a regular function also. But one mandatory condition is at least one function should be purely virtual. Otherwise it cannot be an abstract class. Okay. Now rectangle is called concrete class, which means objects of this class can be created. Or I can also say class can be instantiated. An instance is nothing but an object. So when I say class can be instantiated, it means objects of this type can be created. Whereas abstract class cannot be instantiated. Again, it means the same. Instance is object. So objects of this type cannot be created. Understand the difference. Abstract class, concrete class. When I execute this, I get some junk value. Let's check the code. I'm calling get area even before calculating. So I can invoke calculate area in getArea function itself. So that's it for this video. See you in the next lecture.